Welcome back, everyone. I didn't think I'd be working on that 550 quite this quick, but I decided to take a peek at it. I figured out what was wrong with it. It was pitch black dark last night after work when I was working on it, so I didn't get to film it. It's pretty simple what was wrong, and if you know how these engines work, you'll understand what the problem was. But before I get to that, I'm gonna fix a patch, something that I screwed up on. I was videoing unloading this thing off the trailer, and I'll just let the video speak for itself here. Oops. Oopsie. Ah, I broke a good cooler. Ah, dang it. All right. Yeah. It happens. Well, I'm gonna patch this up so at least it quits leaking. These clamps they're a joke. If you try to reuse them, they probably aren't going to seal. Well, we'll see how that works. And the drive shaft's off, so let's stick that back on. Put this thing in neutral. Of course, I didn't bring a wire cutter because for some reason I thought all he had done was tape. I could have walked over and got a wire cutter by now. Oh, now I need to get these out of the way. Oh, that's completely the wrong size anyways. What was I thinking? I swear these things were 12.12 millimeter. Oh, I know what ones I was thinking of. The ones on the round flange. They're 12.12 millimeter. Dang it. There's some crushed rock laying here, and it really hurts to kneel on it and stuff. That's why I was kind of avoiding going back for the side cutters, but gotta get that. 3/8 12 point. Sorry for the sideward angle here, guys, but you're attached to my head and I'm laying underneath the truck. I don't have any fancy mounts or anything like that. There, those aren't going anywhere. Gotta add a little fluid to the power steering. Oh, that looks good. Now, for those of you who have stuck around this long, is what was wrong with this truck, why it wasn't starting, is there was an issue with the injection pressure regulator valve, the IPR. This is a part number AP63402. I have the original one in the box here. I had this one sitting on the shelf because I thought I had a problem with my green pickup and never did put it in. To change this, since I already have it in there, I'm not going to go through the process again, but it's right down here. I'll give you a little bit better look here in a moment, but take this nut off the back. Take this spacer adapter, slide the solenoid off, and then you put a deep socket on there. Take that guy off. And so what there is there's like a poppet valve, I believe is what it's called in there. And that regulates the high pressure oil. There's also an O-ring right there that can leak. This one apparently was leaking all the flow right through here. Wasn't allowing it to build any pressure. There, the main oil pressure came up, but the injection pressure is only like 10 psi. I might take this apart sometime and look at it, but that's how that is. This is kind of like a pulse width modulation. It sits there and pulses on and off. That's how it gets the percentage of open. And if I can get climbed up in here, it's pretty hard to see, but it's way down in the bottom here. You can just see the shiny new solenoid there. So this right here, that's your high pressure oil sensor. That senses how much oil pressure is in this rail in the head here. That can be, it takes 500 psi to start the engine, can be upwards of 3,000 to 5,000 depending on what you have done to your truck. PSI, 3,000 to 5,000 psi. Right here's your oil temperature sensor. That's basically what the computer reads, how hot the engine is. Here's your engine oil pressure sensor. So when the scan tool was, well, let me back up. When the dash was reading that it couldn't make oil pressure, is what it was doing. So it was filling up this reservoir here, and the sensor's on this reservoir. But the IPR was dumping the oil back to the crankcase about as fast as it was getting it. So this was getting oil flow, but it couldn't build pressure. Right underneath your filter housing, there's a small piston pump, hydraulic piston pump. That's where these two hoses come from and go into each cylinder head. That little piston pump takes engine oil out of this reservoir and bumps it up from 500 to 5,000 psi, depending on your situation. Stock usually is maybe 3,000, something like that at the max. So these injectors in these trucks, they get 40 to 60 psi fuel pressure from the fuel system, and then they have an intensifier piston on them that is pushed down by oil pressure, pushing down the fuel piston. There's a solenoid on top of all that that triggers it, lets the oil flow in. That's how they get the ultra high pressure at the tip with hydraulic. So in these heads there's oil and there's fuel and coolant. There's a little crash course on Huey fuel injection system. Got this buttoned up. See if it'll start up and go for a drive. They got a really chintzy looking battery disconnect on this thing. Not really a fan of that. Oh, this thing's pretty high to get in here without running boards. So once again, 143,000 miles. You can see that engine oil pressure come up real quick, and it's going to start real quick. I think I gotta add a little more power steering fluid. Brakes feels What's that? You like the sound the brakes make? Brakes feel a little bit spongy, but I want to see if this thing will drive. Haha. Transfer case was in neutral. I was hoping I didn't have another one of the bad tranny. The indicator's all messed up, but that's alright. Alright. Drives. Get down, puppy. I'm gonna floor it. Okay, you hold on to something. Looks like neutral's reverse. That's alright. We can fix that. Okay, scan tool says this thing has a misfire. Gotta rip around on the driveway every once in a while. I'll get that creeping Charlie and whatever else out of there, right? Guys, the more I beat on this thing, the less it seems to miss. My idea about the whole situation anyways was that this thing's been sitting like 3 or 4 years, and I've had these style injectors apart before. The little poppets in there, or not the poppets, the needles in the tips, they can get like varnished in there, and beating on it, you get the pressures high enough, it could dislodge them and have them start working. It's really popping around and whatnot when I first got it going, and now it doesn't seem too bad when you rev it up. A little bit. Screw around it a little bit more and see if it'll come out of it. I have a chip I could throw on here and really crank her up. That put a little bit more pressure to it. But I'm just pretty happy that the thing runs, and it runs pretty good. And it was a simple fix. I don't even remember what one of those RPR valves cost. It couldn't have been that much that I had one sitting on the shelf. I don't like to have, you know, expensive stuff sitting around. So I don't know what I'm gonna do with this truck for sure yet. I wouldn't mind finding a small truck body to throw on this chassis. I think that'd be pretty neat. Buddy has one, but it's like an old cab over Ford. But it doesn't sound like he wants to sell it to me. So I don't know, we'll see. I got plans for a couple of other ones, but does sound like it's missing a little bit. I'm gonna go grab the scan tool and check her out here once. I got the old Ford scan tool here, and I got 99F series Super Duty selected there. Diagnostic data link. Hopefully you guys can see that there's not too much of a glare. I'm gonna go into the PCM, and I'm gonna show you this here real quick. So this is what's going on with the engine right now. The barometer is 14.2 psi. That's roughly what atmospheric pressure is supposed to be. And it's saying the sensor on the exhaust is 19.1.2. So it's off just a touch. Not too bad. Engine oil temperature 149. Injection pulse width 2.134. Air intake temp, it's claiming it's 58. It's a little bit warmer than that out, but here's your injection pressure. We're running at like 780 just to idle. Now I'll go up when you give it some throttle. If you put it in gear and give her some groceries, you can see we hit 2300 or so. Oh, and then I wasn't paying attention to that, but injection pressure regulator, that will adjust. Higher the value for when it wants to build more pressure and whatnot. Map, that should be pretty close to what the baro is, and our RPMs. So if we go to diagnostic test modes, we can go and do a cylinder contribution test, and this will tell us what cylinder isn't performing as well. I believe on the 94.5 to 97 trucks, I could probably test it on the van, but I think van doesn't have a tag, does it? I don't remember. I think on the 94.5 to 97 trucks, the tach would actually go up, your idle would go up, and then as it dropped a cylinder, it would drop a little bit, and that's how they perform the test on there. When it's doing the test on these 99 to 03s, sometimes you don't even hear any difference. Okay, sometime later here, it's still telling me that it has cylinder number 8. So sometime I'll pull off the valve cover and see what's going on in there. It still could be sticky, gummy, or it could be legitimately bad. There's another injector test we can do. There's another injector test we can do here. It's injector electrical self-test. And this is the buzz test. This checks all the solenoids, armatures and whatnot. That one does move the tach when it does it. And they all pass, so I'm guessing there's just something a little bit gummed up with that injector number 8. Pull it apart, clean it up, see what its deal is. Well guys, that's all I really got for now. I don't know when I'll be doing much else with these trucks I just drug home, but I'm happy to know that they all run. Just one of them, the van, I'm pretty sure the direct clutch is smoked in the transmission. I've never rebuilt a tranny, but an automatic transmission, but maybe I'll do that one. Well, thanks for watching. Like, share, and subscribe. Give me a thumbs up. Hit that bell to be notified. Take care and God bless. You wanna run them?